Hi, Verbling. My name's Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and today we're talking about stress. Trin, welcome to class. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing great, teacher.
Excellent. Good to hear. So, we're talking about stress today, Trin. Can you think about what stress is and tell us?
Can you write the word stress in the Google chat box?
Uh-huh.
Mm, I don't know what it means.
The word stress,
Yeah.
like that. And let's start with Rafa. Rafa, welcome to class.
Hello, good morning, teacher. Glad
Good
to join the
morning. How
class.
are you?
Oh, this stress.
I'm pretty fine.
Yeah.
Awesome. Rafa, can you tell us what is stress? How would you define stress?
I think stress is related when you are getting nervous, when you are worried about and you have anxiety or something like that inside yourself or in your body. This is related
Mm-hmm.
when in difficult situation you have a high level of stress, could
Mm-hmm.
anxiety,
Definitely.
you know,
Anxiety, yeah.
anxiety.
All right. And Trin, is there anything you want to add to that definition of stress?
I think stress is my. I doing hard working. I stress with it.
Hmm?
Maybe hard working and
Yeah. Working hard definitely relates to stress.
yeah.
Emmanuel, what else can you say about stress? What is stress?
Hey, Michaela. Good
Hey,
morning.
good morning.
Stress. It's pressure over any person.
Mm-hmm.
It's what everyone feels when is caring too much about something,
Mm-hmm.
and so it feels like a huge or a big pressure over their shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right. So it's pressure, it's anxiety, and it comes from overworking yourself. We got a lot into our definition of stress. Now I want to know what stresses you guys out. So we'll go the opposite direction this time. And Emmanuel, will you start by telling us what stresses you out on a daily basis or on a weekly basis?
Well, on a daily basis, I think it's work. Work. Sometimes it's work. Sometimes it's um, bills. Bills you have to pay or something like that. Uh, but yeah, that's it's in a when deadlines are coming at work. Well, you start to stress because
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, you're not getting to the deadline with the job done or with the work done. So
Yeah.
you start stress on that. Or when you are running out of money or something like that, you start to stress because you need to pay something or another thing, and this
Mm-hmm.
well, it happens each at the end of the month or dates like that when the payday is getting closer.
Mm-hmm.
You are running
Deadline.
out of money.
Those are tough. All right. Thanks, Emmanuel. Rafa, what stresses you out?
In daily basis, as you say before, perhaps traffic is one of the most stressful things but I need to cope with it. Also with people who talk aloud on the street, or I try to play tennis almost every day, and there are people that are speaking up or joining many times, and it's also stressful for me. And also people who in verbal in class try to always talk, and the teacher doesn't put any kind of limit to them. It's a horrible situation because there are many classes that the teacher don't put any kind of limit to a student, and the student with more advanced level than you is talking all the time, and the teacher is like, nothing is happened. This is very stressful.
That is frustrating, yeah.
It's only a
All right.
comment from another class that I had an hour ago, and it's so horrible. Only to discharge my
Yeah, you're
emotion.
releasing your stress now, telling us all about it. Good.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rafa. Trin, what causes you stress?
Maybe at school I stress with a lot of homework and something I have to learn. It's a lot.
Hmm. So
Mm.
school, homework, what else?
So when I do school homework, I don't have time to do other things. It's a really long time to do.
So no free time. Just work, work, work.
Yeah.
That's hard. Students have it rough sometimes. Okay. I put a link into the chat boxes for you, and I'm going to screen share as well. We're going to take a look at an article and a report on stress. So let's talk about the title for a second. Best not to sweat the small stuff because it could kill you. So we have an idiom here. Sweat the small stuff. Does anyone know what this idiom means when we say don't sweat the small stuff?
It's like don't care about small stuff, or
Yeah. So what's an example of small stuff?
like not or like be stuck in a traffic jam when you don't need to be on time.
Yeah, exactly. So something that generally isn't a huge deal, kind of these everyday little trials. And here we're using the word sweat as a synonym to stress. So their advice in this title is not to stress about little things like being stuck in traffic, maybe if you don't need to be anywhere. You know, if you're not really late for an important meeting, then try not to stress about the traffic. Okay, so before we get started reading, do you guys have any questions on the title or anything else? All right, we're going to listen to this report before we read about it. It's about 4 minutes long, and it's going to talk all about 2 different kinds of stress and ways to deal with it. And all you have to do to listen is click this blue box with a white triangle in it, and remember to mute yourselves. So mute yourselves as you play this. No questions before we begin? All right, then you guys will have about 4 minutes to listen to this article, and then we'll discuss what you guys heard before going on to read about it ourselves. Go ahead. And if you have any questions while you're listening, try to let me know in the chat box. Good luck. All right. Hopefully you guys had time to listen to the article. And
Yeah.
Lington, welcome to class.
Hey, hello.
Good to have you with us today, Lington. I think this is the first time I've had you in class, right?
And no, actually, it's the second.
Oh,
I
well,
changed
it's good to have you back
my
then.
picture.
Ah, got it. Okay. So, LinkedIn, we're talking about stress today, and we just listened to the article that we're about to read, and we're going to answer a couple questions on that before we get into all this stuff ourselves. So, in that audio, do you guys remember what are the two kinds of stress they talk about? Rafa, do you remember what two kinds of stress they talk about?
Yeah, if I had properly and understand properly, they are talking about two kinds of stress: the daily life with the small stuff that you are worried about, traffic jam, little things that worry a lot of you to you, and other things that with a big impact. For example, an illness or an accident, situation that have a lot of stress involved in it. There are two kinds, but both of them are very similar in the impact in your body and in your mind, as the article says.
I like that.
Exactly. Thanks, Rafa. The next one we're going to answer is, how can stress cause problems for people? Emmanuel, did you hear any of the problems that they mentioned that you might experience from stress?
Yeah, illness, some kind of illness, and actually, it gets up your cholesterol, and well, I don't remember the other ones, but it can cause you illness on this kind.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Emmanuel. And Trin, will you answer the last one? What was the answer they gave for stress? What's a solution to the problem of stress?
I think I heard that part there better.
Trin, are
Go
you there?
ahead, go ahead.
I'm not
So Trin, can you answer question number 3? What is the answer to stress that they give? What's the solution for stress?
exercise.
Yeah, exercise was the main one. Definitely. So they talked about a lot. They gave us several solutions, and now I want to know how you guys cope with stress. So we'll start with Lington, since he's new and hasn't gotten to talk much. Lington, how do you cope with stress when you're feeling really stressed out?
How do I what? What is the word?
Cope with stress. So what do you try to do to manage your stress?
Okay, I read a book and what movies?
Good solution. Books, movies, great idea. Rafa, how about you? What do you do to cope with stress?
I think meditation, as the article says. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. As the article says, one of the most interesting ways to cope, to deal with the stress could be meditation. But the other that the article says is breathing slowly. It's very important. As I read another article about cardiac coherence is related to how to breathe when you are dealing with stress. Coherence, breathing slowly with deep, profound inspiration and expiration, perhaps is one of the most interesting. And with abdominal breathe is one of the most interesting, and I use it when I am very stressed for different reasons.
So you meditate and you try to control your breathing. Is that
Yeah.
right?
hmm
Good ways. All right. Thanks, Rafa. Trin, how do you cope with stress?
You asked me the way out of the stress, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I uh, take a nap or watch cartoon, watch TV.
A nap or TV. Great solutions. Manuel, any other ideas about how you cope with stress?
Well, I go walking half an hour or an hour, and yeah, walking and breathing slowly, and sometimes um, sometimes I read a book or watch some some movie that gets me uh, calm or something like that.
Awesome. Great ideas. Okay. Any other comments or questions before we get into the article and start reading about it? Then let's get started. So if you guys are interested, there's the transcript of the audio you heard here. You can listen to it again after class and follow along if you like. The report is almost exactly the same as the transcript, but not quite. So we're going to read the actual report. And the first two paragraphs here, I'm going to ask Trin to go first for us. Can you read those paragraphs?
Yeah, home is hazardous to health and can lead to early stage from heart disease, cancer, and of other health problems. But it turns out it doesn't matter whether the sleep comes from major events in life or from minor problems. Both can be deadly, and it may be maybe that is not a risk for a major life event like divorce, illness, and job loss trickle down to everyday life. That gets you is how you react to the smaller everyday stress. So,
Excellent. Thanks, Trin. So let's discuss a little vocabulary from these first two paragraphs. Can someone define the word hazardous for us?
Hazardous,
What does
uh,
hazardous mean?
some kind of risk or
Uh-huh.
dangerous situation.
Yeah, risk or danger. Exactly. Thanks. And in the next paragraph, we have this phrase, trickled down. They're talking about how big events might have a trickle down effect. So the stress might trickle down. What does that mean if stress trickles down from these big events to other things? What might that mean?
Um, Trickle down. It's like something that happens uh, little by little or gradually.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a slow move down. And we also use this phrase trickle for water usually. So in this case, it's kind of metaphorical or figurative. We're talking about how this stress trickles down from large events to smaller ones. So it affects everyday life. All right. Any other questions from these first two paragraphs? Then let's move on to the next two. I'll highlight these two and I'm going to ask Rafa to read them for us.
The most stressed out people have the highest risk of premature death, according to one study that followed 1,293 men for years. People who always perceive their daily life to be over the top stressful were 3 times more likely to die over the period of a study than people who rolled with the punches and didn't find daily life very stressful. According to Caroline Alwyn, she directs the Center of Healthy Aging Research at Oregon State University and led the study, which is scheduled for publication in the journal Experimental Gerontology.
Thank you very much, Rafa. Again, we'll talk about vocabulary quickly and then move on. What is premature death?
That before when you expect, when you are younger than you are expected to die.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a cool phrase here, roll with the punches. So we have another idiom. What does it mean to roll with the punches?
It's like go with the flow, or like take problems in an easy way.
Yeah, exactly. Go with the flow, be relaxed, or just try not to stress out too much. You're right. And on the other end, we have over the top stressful, which is like the opposite. All right. Any other comments or questions on these two paragraphs? Then we'll move on to the next two. I'm going to highlight them for you guys and ask LinkedIn to read them.
Okay. Some people get frantic sitting in bumper traffic, worried about being late or not being able to what they hoped in a timely manner. Others simply or simply. Others simply take the time to sit back, listen to music, and appreciate the break as some quiet time. Now, getting upset in traffic is not a big deal, but if things like that happen all the time and the response is always getting really upset, then the whole effects of stress can become toxic.
Thanks. All right, we've got some more good vocabulary in these two paragraphs. The first word is frantic. Can anyone describe what frantic is?
Maybe the same like mad.
Like mad, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does share some qualities with the word mad. What else can we say about the word frantic? It's similar to mad.
Wild?
I'm hearing some static. So the word frantic is similar to mad, but there's a little more to it. What else can we say about the word frantic?
It's like being mad in a wild way.
Yeah, wild, definitely.
Frenetic with a lot of hurry.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this impatient, hurrying kind of anger. It usually includes a lot of energy, like not someone who's just sitting there and thinking, "Oh, this sucks," but someone who's like just vibrating with how angry they are and they're yelling and they're just doing all this action of being upset. All right. And we have bumper to bumper traffic. What is bumper to bumper traffic?
Wow, that's new for me.
Does anyone know what a bumper is?
It's related to snow when you are bumping or jumping from a little mountain of snow. Bumper could be. No.
Yeah, I think you're close. I'm gonna screen share a picture for you guys of what a bumper is. All right, so the bumper is this bottom part of a car. And it's
I
called a
remember that.
bumper because if you ever hit another car, you have like a little bump, right?
Mm.
So it's the part of the car you usually accidentally hit into something else. And so bumper to bumper traffic would be when cars are lined up so tightly that they're practically touching each other because there's so much traffic, so many cars. Bumper to bumper traffic. All right. So we did frantic, we did bumper to bumper. What else did we have to do here? What about no big deal? No big deal is a really common phrase. How can we use no big deal?
It's like not that important.
Yeah, something not that important. It's a really common phrase, so that's a good one to use and remember. Do you guys have any other questions from these two paragraphs? All right, then let's do two more. And these two, of course, are for Emmanuel. Can you read these for us?
Okay. There are a number of ways chronic stress can kill you, says Alwyn. That includes increased levels of cortisol, often referred to as the stress hormone. Elevated cortisol levels interfere with learning and memory, lower immune function and bone density, and increase blood pressure, cholesterol, and heart disease. If you are one of those chronically upset warriors, Dr. Robert Waldinger, a psychiatrist at Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard University, has a prescription for you: exercise.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. So we saw the word chronic a couple times already. So we've got chronic stress in the first paragraph and chronically upset. What is something that is chronic?
Is something that always happens.
Mm-hmm. Something that always happens or happens repeatedly. Awesome. Any other vocabulary questions from these two paragraphs? We have some medical jargon down here. No questions?
Uh, wait, please. I'm reading again.
Yeah, go ahead. And if you guys ever think of a question after we've already moved on, you're welcome to bring it up later or put it in the chat box so that you get your question answered before we finish.
No, it's okay. I read again and no doubt.
Awesome. Well done. Okay. Then we've got two more paragraphs and we're back to Trin. Trin, can you read these for us?
You could give one magic pill that would improve physical health, mood, reduce weight, This would be Weidinger says federal health officials recommend uh, 30 minutes of moderate aerobic activity every day. When it comes to fighting stress, Weidinger says that's enough. When they do studies, particularly of the mood benefits, they find that more than 30 minutes a day is not necessary. You don't get any boost. So if you think just in terms of stress relief and antidepressant effect, 30 minutes is enough.
Thanks. All right. So first term I'd like to go over is aerobic activity. Mainly the word aerobic. What does aerobic mean?
Kind of exercise.
Yeah, it's a kind of exercise. And when you do this exercise, what is it like? Or what's an example of aerobic exercise?
Dancing exercise.
Huh?
Maybe dancing exercise.
Uh-huh. Dancing is a great example.
Running, walking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, aerobic exercise is the kind of exercise where you need to breathe a lot. So we mainly have two kinds. There's the kind where you're building muscle, and that might not necessarily require you to do a lot of breathing. You're breaking down your muscle tissue. But aerobic exercise is when you're moving fast, you're running, you're dancing, you're breathing heavy, and you're sweating. All right. In the next paragraph, we have the word boost. What does boost mean?
Yeah.
To improve, to get the high level, to make a push on it.
Yeah.
Improve.
Yep. Improvement or increase. Yes. Any other questions from these two paragraphs? All right, then we'll move on to the next two. We've got a couple long ones coming up.
There is one word, relief.
Where is it?
They find out more. Relief. So if you think just in terms of stress relief.
Relief. Got it. Okay, that's a good one to go over. Can anyone help us define the word relief from the second paragraph in the last line? Stress relief.
It's just escape of the stress. You make the stress go away.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And it can be used in other ways as well. So you might say relief from the heat, or relief usually implies that you're escaping something unpleasant, or you're feeling a little better, releasing that stress like Rafa was doing in the beginning of class.
Okay.
All right. Next two paragraphs. Rafa, it's your turn. Can you read those for us?
Yep. Another option would be to add meditation to your daily routine. For many people, that can make a big difference, Waldiner says, because what you do is what your mind spins out anxiously over trivia, and eventually it settles down and you begin to have more perspective. Breathing may be the simplest and most immediate fix Alwyn says. Take a step back when you feel yourself getting upset. Step back physiologically and even physically, she recommends. And then watch your breathing. People who get upset a lot breathe very rapidly and swallowly, and it creates more anxiety. Breathing slowly from the abdomen help slow the stress response, she says.
Thanks. All right, we've got a lot of vocabulary in these two. The first phrase I'd like to go over is from the first paragraph when it says, your mind spins out anxiously. So you watch your mind spin out anxiously. What does it mean to spin out?
Spinning out, I think, is related with when you are making circles, vicious circles about something, always thinking the same again and again, spin out.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to define it. Your mind is going over these topics again and again, and you're thinking of all of these things, and it's kind of confusing. And then what's trivia? What is trivia? No
With
ideas?
no importance.
Like,
With no importance.
Yeah, things that are not very important.
yeah, simple.
Simple, yeah, simple facts. Sometimes you hear trivia referred to as like little facts that people might not know, like, you know, the definition of a word or the history of a word or something. Little facts. All right?
Yeah, it's like ordinary.
Yeah, ordinary things. What about shallowly? They're talking about how people who are stressed breathe rapidly and shallowly.
Shallow.
What's the opposite of shallow?
Slow.
Kind of. Not exactly, though. So, rapid is fast, right? So the opposite of rapid would be slow. But shallow is a little different. So if you breathe shallowly, or if a pool is shallow, what does that mean?
All like not deep at all.
Yes, not deep. So the opposite of shallow is deep. Thanks. All right. Any other questions from those two paragraphs? We are almost done. Just two more.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. What's the question?
How do I say the word anxiety or anxious?
Yeah, anxiety or anxious or anxiously. So the X actually changes pronunciation depending on how we're using the word. So anxious and anxiously, that X is sort of pronounced like an SH. But when we say anxiety with the noun form of it, it's pronounced like a Z. Anxiety and anxious.
Anxious.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Got it.
Good question. All right. And the last two paragraphs here. LinkedIn. Will you read those for us?
Okay. And finally, Wadinger says, here's something not to do. Don't overdo alcohol. It feels in the moment like having that extra drink at night makes stress because it relaxes you. But it turns out that alcohol disturbs sleep, and it also acts as a depressant. Some stress is unavoidable for everyone, Baldwin says, but stress-related disease doesn't have to be.
Okay. So I only have one vocabulary term that I've picked out for us to go over, and that is inevitable. Inevitable. Kind of hard one to say, and it's an advanced vocabulary word. Does anyone know what inevitable means? Inevitable?
You can avoid. It will
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Any other questions from these two paragraphs?
For me, okay.
All right, I think we did a great job. And I have one more question for you guys. And this time we're going to respond to the question in the chat box. I'd like you guys to write 1 or 2 sentences telling me if you think stress is always a bad thing or if it's sometimes good or useful. So is stress always bad or can it sometimes be good? And respond with 1 or 2 sentences in the chat box. You guys can have a couple minutes to write your answers and then we'll go over them together.
Excuse me, I didn't hear pretty well. What is the activity?
So you guys are going to write your answers in the chat box to the question, is stress always a bad thing?
Okay.
All right, we've got one already. You're fast, Lington. Will you read us your answer and then tell us a little bit more about what your thoughts were here?
Okay. It depends of the person, the kind of person. Some people work better under stress, but some others, I particularly prefer not to work under stress. I prefer being relaxed.
All right, so you think for some people it can be good, but for you it's not.
Yes.
All right, that's fair. I have a couple small corrections from your sentences here. First, we always use on with the word depends, so it depends on the person. And it wouldn't be doesn't. It would be because we're talking about some people, which is more than one. So some people
Right.
work better under stress, but others don't.
Yes, okay.
All right, just a couple small things. Thanks, Lincoln.
I will rewrite you. Can I?
Yeah, that would be perfect. Okay, we've got a couple responses in the Google chat, starting with Emmanuel. Emmanuel, will you read us yours and explain a little bit about your thoughts?
Yeah. So, is stress always bad? No, stress is not always a bad thing. Sometimes it helps to get you awake, or it sets you aware and focused. I mean, sometimes you need to be a little bit stressed to be uh, le to be less lazy and be a little bit more eager and take the tasks you have to do in a in a in a in an higher way. I mean, sometimes you need to be a little bit stressed to work.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I've got a couple corrections for you as well. I'm going to read them out to you and then put them in the chat box. Sometimes it helps you to stay awake. It helps you to be aware and focused. So I added a subject to your second sentence and I added a verb as well, stay awake. or you can change that if you want, but it has to be some other kind of verb. And I said it helps you to be aware and focused instead of it sets you. You could use sets maybe. Maybe if you said it sets you to awareness. That might be one way you could keep the same verb. Maybe you could do that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Emmanuel. And made a mistake there. Okay. The next person is Rafa. Can you read us your thoughts?
There is a good stress called eustress. It is necessary to cope with daily life. Get the bus, deal with your boss and your mates. Even though you could be an easygoing guy, I think it's a kind of auto-defense response from the daily difficulty, the normal difficulties that you can find in your daily life.
Interesting. You stress. Interesting concept. So sometimes it's good. All right. There's a couple small errors here. First, cope has an E at the end. That might just be a typo there, but it has an E. And then we need a preposition and some gerunds. So I would change that first sentence to, it's necessary to cope with daily life, like getting the bus, dealing with your boss and your roommates, even though you could be an easygoing guy. So just a couple little things. Thanks, Rafa.
Thank you.
Next up, Trin, read us your thoughts.
Okay, I think stress is a bad thing because it makes me unhappy and not have power to do something. I think it's not only a stress, I think it is about stress.
So it's not just stress, but it's pressure, right?
Yeah.
All right. Awesome thoughts. Thanks. Huh?
In my life, I have never met some good stress or some experience about it.
Yeah, so maybe it's good, but not for you. Kind of like what LinkedIn said. All right. Couple small corrections. I would put a subject before or after and before the verb, so I don't have power. And change press to pressure. Only other thing I see. All right. Did you guys have any other thoughts you wanted to share about the article or stress in general? No? All right. We're about out of time for today. I have 2 other classes later in the day, so maybe I'll see you guys there. And if not, I hope you have a wonderful week and see you guys again soon. Bye.
Bye, teacher.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
See ya.